Okay, now y'all got to stay tuned to the end of this video. I'm going to go through and I'm going to explain to you first what all we've been through testing this transmission, the whole what happened in the first place, kind of summarize the whole thing, and then at the end I'm going to tell you the real update as to what happened on the test when we got it at home. Don't skip to the end. I want you to hear what happened, because hopefully maybe somebody out there watching this video can hear my diagnosis as to what all we've been through, and maybe they've got an idea that I haven't thought of. So if you know anything at all about transmissions, please don't skip to the end. I want you to listen to what all's happened, and then I'll tell you where we're at the end, and then maybe you can leave a comment below and tell me what else we should try. Alright, so that little morsel of entertainment that you guys got, that was our attempt at load testing the truck. So to put it all kind of into perspective where we're at now, let's just go back before I ever had any problems with the transmission. When I bought it, the transmission was already messed up, and I knew it. I didn't have fourth gear, and if I ever got bogged down or loaded up in a rut or something, I couldn't get out of it. It's like the torque converter. I just had it didn't have enough power to even turn the tires over if I was stuck, unless I was in pure slime. Then it would spin the tires. So I knew there was a problem. Anyway, I'm hauling one night, smell burnt clutch, go to take off in first gear, got no first gear. So that was when I pulled the plug and was like, okay, that's it, time for a new transmission. Took it to a shop, sat for weeks and weeks and weeks, finally pulled the transmission, brand new planetary, back in the truck, take it home, put a test load on it, heap it up, I want to see what it can do. So I heap it full, go to take off in first gear, no first gear. Now, mind you, when it went out before, I still could drive it empty in first gear, but I didn't have any pull in first gear. I'll take it home with a brand new planetary, same thing. I drive it empty in first gear, but can't pull in first gear. Well, went in and did the rest of the testing. Took it down the road, second, third, fourth, they all engaged, worked great. So I got fourth gear now. And by the way, when it wouldn't pull in first gear, I was able to pull in second gear. I actually pulled out of a rut with a full load in second gear, which is something I could have never dreamed of doing before. So there's proof that the planetary is better than new planetary. The only problem is I still don't have first, and that's the gear that I use 95% of the time is first gear. So we sent it back to the shop. They said, well, that planetary that we bought was bench tested. They warranty it, they bench tested, said everything's fine. So we don't think it's a failure in the planetary. Well, the only other thing is the valve body. So we started pressure testing that, and sure enough, you put it in, the pump tested good, put it in second, third, fourth, forward, reverse, all those things. You hold good pressure in the valve body. Put it in first gear and it would just dump pressure. So it's a washout or it's a leak somewhere in the valve body. That's the thought process. So we went through and rebuilt the valve body. Can't get the plunger or the spools inside, so they got new springs and O-rings and everything they could inside the valve body. Put it all back together, and they've gone through and troubleshot it a couple times, and we've got back to where now it'll pull empty in first gear, and it's better now in first gear than it was with just the new planetary. And what I mean by that is, before, when I'd put it in first gear empty, nothing would happen, and then as I started to step on the accelerator, then the truck would start to roll forward. Now I can put it in first gear and I'll actually feel it engage, and the truck will actually start to roll forward a little bit on its own in first gear. So it is engaging better in first gear. The only question is, how strong is it actually in first gear? So I wanted to put a load of dirt on it there at their facility. That's what they said we were going to do, but they don't have any spare excavators sitting around to load it. So I was like, well, how else can we load test it? Well, we try to see if we can shove this dozer around, which, as you guys saw, no such luck. But I don't really know what to take away from that, because that truck is not a bulldozer. It's not meant to shove bulldozers around. I don't really know how much strength it's really supposed to have. I don't know if new from the factory it had enough power that it should spin its tires. You know, I don't know that. So at this point, really all I can do is take it back home, put a load of dirt on it again and see what it does. And if it pulls with a load on it that's satisfactory to me, I think that's just where we have to call it. We have to say, well, it's good enough, you know, because I don't really have a way to know if it's good as good, you know, good as new. I don't know. So I guess that's the plan. I'm going to try to line up a truck to haul it home tomorrow. Of course, I've got to get that busted wheel hub off there, or else the tire's just going to fall off sooner or later. So that'll be the next project. Get it home, put some sort of load on it just to see what it'll do, but that's scary as heck with that tire. But I guess at this point, if the wheel falls off, what's the big deal? The hub's already destroyed. So I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys a little update on kind of where it's at. It's been a long, long road, and it's been a lot of money, and I just want it over with. I just want to stop the bleeding. I want to close this chapter, move on to the next, which is, of course, the wheel hub, and then repacking the hydraulic cylinders and everything else that I can try to do to get it back to where it's in a good, usable order. So anyway, that's your update. It's been hell, but I think we're making progress, so we'll just have to see. Well, the news sucks. Got it home, and I was skeptical with good reason. It's too dark for you guys to see now, but there's the excavator behind me, and the dump truck somewhere out there in the darkness. But basically, I got it home. Okay, I got my shirt off. Don't tell my wife I made this with my shirt off. I got it home and loaded it up, and much as I expected, no first gear. So and this time I didn't even put a full load on it because that wheel hub is broken. I didn't want to risk any further damage on that. So I put maybe 4 buckets on the excavator, which a full heaping load on that truck is 6 bucketfuls with my excavator, which is a big bucket. But still, not a heaping, spilling load, because I didn't want to risk that wheel hub. And I tried to just back it up a very gentle slope. Gee, I don't know, 2%, something like that grade. Not anything that should be a hard hill at all. Certainly a hill that I could crawl up before the transmission ever messed up in the first place. And actually, when it couldn't do that, I let the truck roll forward a little bit onto flat ground, and it couldn't even pull forward on flat ground with a load on the bed. Dumped the load, pulled right out of it. So we're basically right back where we were, despite the new planetary, despite all the pressure testing and troubleshooting and rebuilding the valve body. We're right back where we were. There's one other issue that we're thinking on, which is the planetary that was warranted by the shop that rebuilt it. They said they bench tested it and everything worked. But the shop that put this planetary in for me, they didn't have a way to bench test it. So they're going on the word of the shop that they bought it from. So it could still be the seals in the clutch pack, in first gear, inside the planetary, which is possible. But now that's going to be a whole headache of back to the shop that installed it. They pull the whole transmission to pull the whole planetary, to warranty the planetary through the shop that they got it from that said that it was brand new and held pressure. That's going to run into a whole bunch of he said, she said. That's my suspicion. I don't know that, but that's my suspicion. That's my fear. If anybody out there has any other ideas, anything else that could be wrong with this is a power shift transmission. I'll have to put a picture here at the end of the video of the serial number off the transmission. I think it's a 980B transmission, I think. But it's a power shift transmission. It's got a whole series of clutches inside the transmission, so there's no clutch in the truck for me to mess with. I just grab a gear 1 through 4 or 4, forward or reverse. That's it. So everything else is handled inside the transmission. So if it won't pull in first gear with a full load, it's not getting full pressure to the clutches in first gear. That's all we know. The question is, where is it dumping that pressure? Is it leaking by in the valve body? That's what the shop's trying to say, that rebuilt the transmission, because they took the valve body apart. And yeah, there's some scarring, but it works in second, third, and fourth, which tells me the valve body, yeah, sure, it might be leaking by a little bit, but not that bad. I'm starting to suspect it's in the planetary, but If anybody out there has any other ideas, something we can try or think about, I'd appreciate it. Right now, still no Wilbur.